One thing that this chapter proved is you're not alone. Everyone can't stand Shiba unless it's Kunashige.
Hopefully it's just not like a Modelo situation where he's reaching for a sword, Hopefully it's nothing like that.
Was the best guy around.
What about the people he murdered?
What murder?
Welcome back to the Hishaku Hideout, a weekly podcast where we talk about the latest chapter and everything Kagurabachi. I'm here with Dice.
Yo.
And today with us as a guest is Mr. No Operator. What's up, No Op?
Yo, what is going on? Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
No worries. Today we're getting into chapter 116, banger chapter, and from our weekly midweek theory stream, us, and chat kind of thought the likelihood of Chiaki popping in was unlikely this chapter, or at least we thought that she might pop in at like a cliffhanger at best. But the first page, she's waking up. As Noah said before we hit the record, a jump scare, a baddie jump scare, which I guess as manga readers, baddies would scare us. So, Now, what y'all think of the chapter? Start with Dice.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely wasn't expecting Chiaki in the first page. The chapter name is Princess. So right there, you have an idea of what we're going to get into. And yeah, man, I'm loving the lore dump, and I'm loving the way Chiaki has presented this chapter and everything kind of like surrounding the Soga clan and this whole prophecy thing. And her as a character, she just seems like very interesting.
What about you, Noah?
No, I completely agree. Like the way that Hokuzono presents a lot of the lore in like a way where he's kind of like obviously there's a lot of exposition, there's a lot of explanation as to how the Soga clan kind of has its role for the government and everything like that. But also we see, the prophecy reading play out. We see all of the other people around it, and really like just the way that Hokuzono kind of captures those moments. I think it just makes it feel less like we're just getting a bunch of information kind of thrown at us, and more like we're kind of like experiencing it just through, like, I think Matsuri is his name because he's kind of brand new, right? It's kind of almost like we're experiencing it through his eyes for the first time.
Oh, Mashiro?
Yeah,
Machiro. Yeah, I'm sorry, I always get his name wrong.
Don't worry, he's gonna be dead soon anyway, so it's not gonna matter that much. Yeah, no, it's pretty crazy chapter, and that's a good shout that we do get a lot of like information about the way the government is structured and how the counter sorcery army, or the sorcery bureau as they say, they owe their existence to the Soga clan. And I guess let me just first say, I got my Shiba apology form. I'm not filling it out yet. But okay. I'm at least writing my name on the form because, he was a homie for playing wingman for Kunashige and Chiaki. So I do give that man credit for that,
Got to start somewhere at least, so kudos.
Hey, character development, you know what I'm saying? I'm on my own character development arc. And,
listen, the one thing that this chapter proved is you're not alone. Everyone can't stand Shiba unless it's Kunashige.
Yeah, you know what's real? Like, Chiaki's mom, say what you want about her, but hey, I'm kind of siding with her. She was cooking. Fire his ass. But Dice, you kind of mentioned this too in the before we started recording, about the fact that someone with so much influence wants Shiba fired, yet he isn't fired, shows that he's a necessity. His shenanigans are par for the course because the man gets shit done.
Yeah, nobody likes him, right? It's not like he isn't fired because, he's buddy with this person or that person. It's like nobody likes him. We've seen that, and yet he still has his job. So, yeah, it's like you said, he clearly gets shit done.
Yeah, it would feed me for generations if we found out that his dad was the prime minister of Japan and he was a Nepo baby. I would lord that so hard. Just for the
negative aura for real, like
whole nother level of slander of that, honestly.
That's funny. Oh man. But the introduction of Chiaki was I think well done. Her character, she seems very strong. The fact that the other sister had an early death and she wasn't able to give birth to a successor So the prophecy ability kind of awoke in her. And, it happened 2 years prior to this chapter, right? Now, the mom says Akamura also grew in those 2 years. Do you think there is a possibility that there was a significant event that happened that caused the prophecy to awaken in Chiaki, and then also caused by catalyst a reaction in Akamura to grow in power in those 2 years? Or do you just think it's like the prophecy awakened in Chiaki, then Akamura wanting to protect his sister, was the motivations for him getting stronger?
It's interesting to think about it when you frame it that way, honestly, because it definitely seems weird, right? That the other sister died so spontaneously. It makes you kind of question, was that something that was relevant, or was that just bad fate, bad luck? But I do think it's interesting that both of them receive that ability, almost as that ability to grow at an extreme rate. I wonder if maybe there is some kind of background shenanigans going on that may have not only been involved with the death of that sister, but also placed that gift of prophecy into Chiaki, and then also gave the insane swordsman genes to Akamura randomly. Again, I feel like that's one of the best ways that Hokuzono does right, is that he makes you ask those questions every single time, because I think we were talking a little bit even before this, right? And one of the best things about this chapter was how many answers we got about the Soga clan. But also, if you really think about it, this chapter also posed a lot more questions too at the same time.
Oh, 100%. I mean, in regards to your specific question, Tiberius, I think it's more likely the latter. I think, at least the way I interpret it now, I see Akamura having seen his sister's gifts manifested, and that kind of drove him to become her guardian and not fall behind, knowing that he has to be there even if he's the younger brother or whatever. But also when I was reading the chapter, what immediately popped into my head was okay, what else happened 2 years ago? And I can confirm now, because I just went back and looked at it, and I hadn't had the chance to do so before, is that at least from what we know, what happened 2 years before this chapter is the large island suddenly appears in the coastal waters near southeast Japan. So it seems like the island of Shikoku kind of presenting itself, it almost definitely has to be linked to Chiaki awakening her powers of the prophecy. Now, we don't know exactly when the previous the previous bearer of this gift exactly was it that passed away. We could assume that it was pretty much right before Chiaki awakens her abilities, or we could assume that it's not much time has passed after her death before Chiaki awakening her abilities, but we don't know for sure, so there could be something there. But in chapter 113, which is the first chapter of the Seitei War flashback, we do get that 2-year time skip after the island of Shikoku appears.
That's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so there's definitely something there.
Yeah,
could this possibly
could
be a background shenanigan thing where there's actually, we're so focused on Akamura, we're so focused on we're so focused on Akamura, we're so focused on Kunashige, we're so focused on Chihiro, all these characters, that there's actually a third party in play that we don't even know about, because we still don't know why the island of Shikoku just randomly appeared. What if all of this is kind of linked together to some innate, I can't even say it could go either way, because I want to agree with Dice and be it's obviously Akamura probably just had that potential to begin with, and Chiaki just maybe just got lucky, maybe there is something there with that. But at the same time, as Occam's razor exists, there's also the idea that so many manga have the whole hidden villain that you never saw coming out of nowhere, and we know how much inspiration Hokuzono does take from stories like Naruto and stuff like that. So I really am curious, but I think that's an interesting question to pose. That's why I didn't really answer it, because I want to leave that. I like the idea of leaving it open almost.
Yeah, I feel that. And like honestly, the oddball out here, if there was another person at play, is Hishaku. If he has a hand to play in Shikoku actually appearing, he's the one who, basically inscribed the Japanese for them. I mean, unless they're just kind of like an advanced civilization, and that's how they know Japanese. Or, Hatshaku, who knows Japanese, is the one that did it for them, and he's putting all these pieces in play for like some bigger, grand plan that, maybe isn't even as like related to the actual core players of the story. Like you were saying, Noop, like the people we're so focused on, they just happen to be the ones that, became the pieces on the board, or the important pieces on the board that Hatshaku's setting up. And it's like credit to Hokuzono. A lot of the reveals in the past that he's kind of chose like to go down that route have been like the more straightforward answers, but that could also be in itself a choice of his. It's like seemingly like this is my mechanic for storytelling, to just like make a big twist late game, or something along those lines. And I like this chapter did bring a lot of questions. It served as like a great introduction to the Soga clan, as you were saying, Noah, but there's still questions. And I think like that kind of writing that adds to the weekly experience. Because it's like there's always something new to like ponder, something new to theorize on. It's not stale. The theories that we've had back when we first got that reveal of the Shikoku, they invaded us. We now see that the panel that they used back then, they were just dropping off a letter saying that they want to meet with the royal family. It's that the panel that of those three guys on shore, like that was the panel they told us that they were invading Japan. But now we know they bear no ill will. So, and that just begs the question, what exactly happened in that meeting about the mining Datanseki, or the rights to mine Datanseki?
Yeah, and not to go, because I don't, I don't like to get kind of too wrapped up in theories early in the discussion, but in regards to, just because Noah brought this up about there being a third party, and I do agree with you, Tiberius, the fact that, we know how this chapter ends with the pine tree reference, and it seems like the pine tree sorcery has been everywhere since chapter 1, really. And Hatshaku, we do know how much mystery is surrounding his character, but I do agree that it's totally plausible, and it very much makes sense that there is a third party involved in this. I mean, I do kind of want to point out some of the potential connections. It could just be coincidences, but I do doubt it. For example, we know that like Yura has brought up this idea of the prophecy well before this, right? And we now see Chiaki with prophecy, and as well as it is Chiaki's prophecy, and that gift, whoever carries that gift is hailed as an incarnation of the goddess Azanami. We know that Yura has stated that the gods are on his side. And there is like a visual similarity as well between Chiaki and Yura, where both of them have like these two markings under their eyes. And we know that Yura didn't always have that, but he does once he becomes leader of the Hishaku, or at least after his original flashback. So I can't help but think that there could be something there. And like you just pointed out with Hatshaku and the pine tree, I'm not saying that Hatshaku was like the big mastermind kind of pulling the strings since the whole time, but it could be, or it could be that he was very much involved in whatever took place, right? So I do agree that it's very likely that there is some third party. And like I said, I don't want to get kind of too wrapped up in theories, but the connections are there, and I doubt that it's just like all coincidences, right? But Hokuzono has done a great job keeping us guessing.
I would like to bring up, we all know that there's a lot of inspiration and influence from Naruto on Hokuzono's part.
Yeah.
Hatshaku may be Zetsu done right.
Yeah, I've heard that, yeah.
Could be the thing, that could be steering the ship correct, to the right course for Zetsu type villains. But that's it'll be a long time before we kind of get to that point. And instead of going down theories, I guess we could talk a little bit about the chapter. With Chiaki and this prophecy, like the 2 years thing we talked about. Noah, I wanted you to do you think that we're gonna see more of these clans come into play at all, or do you think this is kind of just their nod of them existing?
I mean, it really depends, right? Because we definitely got the naming of all the other major clans. We knew the Sazanami existed, and I don't think we've had anyone from any of these clans appear yet. I'm sure it's something that could be brought up either during the actual part of the Seitei War, because we kind of said earlier, this is mostly all just setup chapters, right? We're introducing all these new people, we're Chiaki, we're introducing all these new concepts like the prophecy. Seitei War hasn't even begun yet. So we could get some more of these characters involved. They could even play a much larger part later on in the time skip when we have to basically get as much as we can help-wise against Akamura and his new Kamunabi, whatever is going to happen. I think overall, what this does show as it's a very dynamic and interesting way just to give us a great depiction of how the government, quote unquote, works as of right now, right? How the Sorcery Bureau is such a different organization entirely compared to what the Kamunabi is later, where it's much more militarized. It's much more the sorcerers are integrated with the rest of the people involved in the government, whereas here there is this clear separation, right? You have the actual government people, and then you have the sorcerer people, and realistically the Sorcerer Bureau only really exists because the Soga clan has this power to divine future sight, and the government's that's probably pretty helpful to our cause. So I even if we don't get any other characters from this clan, again, I think one of the most important things that little panel does is just show us how different the Kamunabi is to what we came from, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does seem more like here, as they say, the Sorcery Bureau is a liaison. They're kind of the middlemen, and just the prophecy, right, is such a grand event, and it kind of the Soga clan is what ushers in it's kind of I forget the word that they use, but it's understood, it's a quiet understanding that, there's peace between the government and sorcery as long as the sorcery clans don't, use humans. And we know that sorcery was hidden from the civilization, for up until the war. So the Soga clan had so much influence and I guess power to make that hold all the way up until the war. And it did seem like in the war Japan needed all the firepower they could get. So I'm thinking that we'll probably see some of the clans in the war effort. We'll see that's the fighters from this clan or fighters from this clan. They might send a couple elite sorcerers from each clan or something like that. Who knows? But
it almost reminds me of a relationship between obviously it's not the Yakuza, but an official government would have with the underground organizations that they know are also integral to running the country at the same time. Look, you guys aren't official, as it says, you're allowed to attend, with your representatives, and we have an unspoken understanding that you guys will keep a low profile and refrain from harming ordinary citizens, and you guys get to show up and hang out with us when we do the prophecy, right? It's almost as of right now, like you said, and you brought up a great point, that sorcery wasn't even revealed to the public at this point. It makes sense. It's almost like they were keeping sorcerers down on purpose. It's not something that the government wanted to get out, but once the Seitei War began, it's almost like they just didn't have a choice.
Yeah, and that does beg the question, what exactly happened to the Soga clan? This is a princess of the Soga clan. She is the symbol of this understanding, and we know obviously, so, or we haven't got any mention of a princess. We haven't got any. There's no like identifiers of their existence in the present timeline. So it's a bit weird. Dice, I see you were about to say something. I didn't mean to interject.
No, it's all good. I just wanted to like highlight that I think those are the key words of what Noab said, unspoken understanding, and what you just alluded to, something almost certainly happened to the Soga clan in regards that like we know that the Soga clan seems to be what it is stated that because of the power, because of this prophecy gift, the Soga clan is the sole dynasty of sorcerers that holds sway over the government's very core, right? And it seems like that dynamic and that relationship between the Soga clan, the government, and the government sorcery agency mainly, is kind of like what keeps the peace between these other clans that also like know their place. But as soon as like the Soga clan is pretty much out of the picture, we know what like sorcery or these other clans end up kind of like being up to after the Seitei War. Like they all just kind of start running amok and doing their own thing, and everything is out of control. So it very much does seem like it's the power of the Soga clan what is allowing the government to kind of keep everything in check, because again, it's an unspoken understanding, right? Like nothing is official. It's just kind of like everybody knows their place. Everybody kind of knows how far, and like you said, Tiberius, it's the agreement that like civilians can't be harmed, right? So yeah, I think that's all very much intentional, and I'm also looking forward to what exactly is it that happened to the Soga clan.
I was thinking about the Rakuzaichi. I think that is a big thing for the sorcery world, because we know it's been in operation for quite some time.
Yeah.
So even back here, and for the Rakuzaichi to remain a thing, we know it's kind of a it's like a black market underground auction of all these things and people. But I can't help but remember, but I'm pretty sure Mr. Inazuma's sister had like no ties to sorcery, and in the present timeline, the last and final Rakuzaichi, she was part of the merchandise, right? So if she's a regular human in the present timeline, a part of the Rakuzaichi, that goes to show that they had that much influence that the Rakuzaichi before that point most likely didn't have any civilian merchandise.
Bingo.
You know what I mean? It was strictly
Agreed.
like spirit energy, or anything sorcery related.
Yeah.
So like that, I think that's a big tell right there.
What's crazy is that you guys are all saying this right now, and it's kind of blowing my mind, because the more that you mention this, right, and the more that you guys talk about how the Soga clan, the princess being able to prophesize things, it was this unspoken understanding, it kept everything together, right? And the moment that, we don't know what happened yet, but the moment that for whatever happened, we lost that princess, we lost, the Soga clan lost their power, everything went to shit afterwards. It makes me wonder if like that's where this sense of righteousness in Akamura originated, right? Like maybe that is what made him go, no, everyone needs to go and we need to rule with an iron fist. The moment that maybe his sister dying was what let him say, okay, everything's gone to shit. We don't have this sense of control anymore. I need to be the one to just literally put this unspoken understanding together that everyone acts right, or you're gonna get cooked.
Yeah, fall in line. Yeah, hey,
Yeah, it's not gonna be unspoken. I'm gonna say it. Do as I say or you die. Like, that's a good point, because like a lot of people don't want the Akamura's turn of character to be, a part of like his sister. But I mean, I think that's just the whole fridging thing. But the truth is, like, just because one circumstance may be true doesn't mean another circumstance may be true. You know what I mean? And like here, we definitely see that. And I made this joke on stream. What if I keep calling him Soga, but what if Akamura had kind of like a sister gimmick to him, and he's like, oh, Chiaki-chan, like. But
nosebleed, like the Black Clover character.
Oh, not that bad, but yeah. But like dead ass, we see that he does have like, obviously he cares for his sister, but he, to the point where he's like, big sis, he does like value that they nurture that relationship. We saw that he was playing with Kunishige and Shiba. So that core group known each other since they were little.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Wait, is that's or is that you saying that's Azami? That's Azami?
I think so. I
believe that's Azami. Yeah. I'm like 99% sure that's Azami.
Yeah, I guess it could be Azami because Azami was said was Azami a childhood friend of them?
Yes, I think.
I think that's. I mean,
I know
Azami.
he was with him when
I'm pretty sure that's
was
supposed to be
doing the
Azami.
Mangina thing, but okay, so bet. But
just
I mean,
because they also say she used to be a lovely child in play. She doesn't say like they used to be lovely children in play too, right?
Well, yeah, it's true. But that either way, like the like Soga, I keep want to call him Soga. Now we got a whole Soga clan. With Akamura, like at least being, giving off the impression that he, does have a good relationship with his sister. He's like, I gotta protect you. That's his whole thing, right? And we know he has the skills here. And this chapter paints Akamura so much different than obviously what we know him now. So something happened in the symbol of the peace and understanding between society, the Sorcerer Society, and the regular civilization. Like that being the thing to crumble, is the thing that made him like, okay, now I gotta kind of do my own absolute justice to keep things in line.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Why does Kunishige look like? Kunishige does look like he's kind of the less. I don't want to say. I don't know the word I want to call it. He definitely, comes from a harder, not as well-to-do family. Why couldn't they give that man sleeves? Everyone got sleeves.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good one, Ty. Yeah.
Like it might just be hot, but I don't know. But what she calls Chiaki's mom calls her Kunishige a peon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like your classic traditionalist nonsense. Like, hell no, not my daughter.
Yeah, I mean, we see how he's living. I mean, to be fair.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, but and that to bring up that, it's the fact of like, one, I mentioned earlier Shiba playing the middleman, which is because I do take it as Shiba's not trying to stir shit. He knows like his boy, they like each other or whatever. But it's so funny to me that mom's like spazzing out, and we already know Kunishige cracked it. I hate to, I got. We don't need a prophecy.
You know what? The moment, I guarantee you, she seems like the type that the moment that Kunishige does like start doing good things with Subaru and he makes the enchanted blade, she's gonna be like, I always loved that boy. He seems so nice. You know what I mean? Like, and she's gonna be like, you know what? You should have. Why didn't you meet this man earlier? You should have introduced him to me. I thought you were talking about some other Kunishige.
Yeah,
Bunishige. That's Bunishige.
Yeah,
Bunishige.
She immediately strikes me as the type she's gonna turn around the moment that Kunishige's name gets pushed up the roster. You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like Kunishige's character in this flashback arc. I do think it's a very subtle, like not a, it's kind of like he is who he is, but his characterization is just very like subtle. It's nothing like super crazy that we've gotten from him yet, or anything that like kind of really like surprise us. You know what I mean? Because he was kind of childish back in the, back when we seen him in chapter 1. Like Chihiro was taking care of him as he was the dad. I really like this, how this dynamic's gonna go, and what exactly is gonna be that inciting incident for them to, connect. The Immaculate Conception, the beast with two backs, and
oh my god. I do like, the one thing I will say is I do like that they both clearly seem to like have feelings for each other in this chapter. It's made very apparent, right? Like she's like, oh, I want to talk to him, and like, oh, she didn't want to tell her mom, but she's like, oh, I think he's in Tokyo. Yeah.
She's blushing.
Yeah, it's definitely some important reason that he's here. And she's like, you're ruining your gift by focusing on like self-serving things or whatever. I'm trying to find the page, whatever she says, but it's very funny to me. But I do like that it seems like their feelings are mutual for each other, and it's not just some like Kunashige's just some annoying kid that eventually just wears her down.
Oh yeah,
Like-
no, for sure.
Yeah,
Like they both
like
seem
the
to
persistent-
like each other. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I did kind of like a while back. I made a what if, or kind of a what if theory about what if Akamura is the one that wiped out the Soga clan, and obviously that's very extreme. It's unlikely for sure. If the mother or someone in the Soga clan, because we see how they view the princess, like they say she was unfit, she wasn't someone deserving of the role, but of course, like she's in those 2 years, she's earned the respect of like people to not question her. But her getting with Kunashige and having a child with him, if that is viewed, if someone views that as like taints the clan and someone does something to her, in the clan does something to her, that Akamura may not take that shit, he may take it personally. And I mean, I'm not saying he wipes it out or anything like that, but I would like to see how that kind of plays out, because like what would happen to the princess? She would be the most guarded, you would suspect, of everyone in Japan in terms of the sorcery world. She'd be protected more than anybody. So like where's her downfall come?
It makes me think that this prophecy sorcery is going to come into play in some way, shape, or form to her demise, right? Where it's possible that, not to immediately be like we're going back to a different series that we were just talking about earlier, but like what if she sees a prophecy of her own death in some way, and she, even though she knows it could happen, she goes against that prophecy anyway. Like maybe she knows she's gonna die in childbirth or something of that nature if she has a kid with Kunashige, and she does it anyway. Or
all roads lead to Chojin X, man.
That's literally what I like. It's like, or maybe even something even outside of the realm of that, where it's like she sees, maybe it makes me think like, is she ever going to see a prophecy of what her brother does, and maybe that causes her to confront him, and that changes things. So like I feel like this prophecy sorcery could come into play for the plot in a lot of different ways, to where it could, like, it's just like a kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy kind of thing, where she inadvertently causes her own death by either not listening to the prophecy or something of that nature. I think it's been like, it doesn't have to go that way, but I think with the nature of that power, it could definitely play a very important role.
I mean, Noah, I definitely think you're onto something, because we do get like that one panel where it says these prophecies come in fragmented images. But vivid ones, unlike normal dreams, they fade upon waking. They're, vivid ones are crystal clear, but still they can be hard to judge. So I definitely think that we're going to see some of that into play, whether it's like her kind of being in denial because she thinks that it's open to interpretation, or her just being mistaken about a certain prophecy. I definitely think that you're onto something, and we might see something like that come into play.
Yeah, we know like she's only had this ability for 2 years, and everyone's acting like it's kind of crazy how much, they're saying it's utterly amazing. But a bizarre twist of fate, she's like, gained this power late, in terms of like with the other sister dying and not being able to birth a successor. But with her getting it and then doing so much in 2 years is utterly amazing. That still doesn't mean that she's like mastered it. And we know there's not a lot of time from this point forward from when the war starts, you know what I mean? So it could be something of maybe just she does, not being completely mastered the ability. Maybe she has mastered it. But when you get into prophecies, it's always a little, it's one of those things that, usually like when you handle it the simple way, it kind of is like for the best, because if you try and do too much with prophecies, it's hard to start like connecting the plot lines and making them feel synced and land in a understandable way that feels like logical to the story. So I'm interested to see if she does like see the the prophecy of Akamura and his actions on malediction, and maybe she tries to stop him, and maybe at that point he's been going through the war so long and he just wasn't mentally built for it, and he just kind of splintered himself to be able to still maintain. And I don't know, like there's a lot of those like moments that this flashback, I think that are like lingering that we want to see, like the creation of the first EB, the selection process of the EB, the beginning of the war, battles in the war. There's I really like what Hokuzono is doing with like kind of he's adding to the intrigue in a nice and a kind of stepping it out, like as we approach this start of the war. And when we see that meeting, I think that'll tell us a lot.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think seeing what the royal family look like is going to be a big reveal in and of itself. That's one thing that I'm really, really excited for to get, is just to see what they look like, what their, role is going to be in the story, and like what those first talks between the two societies look like. Because like I said earlier, what I'm most interested in is what happened to Shokoku. Why did they suddenly appear? Do the people even know why they suddenly appeared? And like, why is their first conversation immediately going to the right to mine the Datenseki? And it's not like, hey, how are you? What's your name? What's my name? Like it's interesting to me, like how we escalated so quickly to that, and just what their play is, because they spend so much time supposedly trying to deflect us from the Datenseki and trying to keep us away from it. Now they're more than willing to let us mine it. I'm very interested to see what that meeting holds, and like I said, what characters show up to that meeting. If it's characters that we've seen before, like I think there's a lot of potential in that big meeting.
Yeah, I mean, mind you, they're going into that meeting with a thought process that we have the upper hand here, and they do. So Kunishige's like inclusion in the war.
Just to be clear, Tiberius.
What'd I say?
No, you keep saying they, and I just want to make sure you're talking about Shikoku.
Oh yeah, Shikoku. Yeah,
Okay,
Shikoku's going into the meeting with the upper hand. Basically, they're thinking that they're gonna win, and it looked like they were gonna win until the enchanted blades hit the scene. And what's funny is that those are crafted with Datenseki. And I mean, from what we know now, it doesn't seem like they have the raw material to create the EBs yet. So I'm wondering if that might be talked about in the meeting. Allow us to have a little bit of the resource, and then that comes back to bite them on the ass, in the end, or something like that.
Yeah,
what you think
I
about
don't
the
know
meeting coming up?
Yeah, like everything points towards Shikoku not being hostile at the moment, but like you said, they were kind of actively trying to stop them from mining the Datenseki. And I guess I'm not super convinced yet that they're not hostile. Like, I think you bring up a great point, Tiberius, and that like it's very likely that they can be very confident in terms of they know that they wield the power that Japan at the moment doesn't have. And though I'm not saying it's necessarily the case, I wouldn't be surprised if they are trying to kind of lure them into a situation. Again, I'm not saying this is the case, but with the whole prophecy thing, Chiaki says that they're not hostile when they pull up, right? Again, I can't help but think of this idea that like she could be interpreting it wrong, right? And just because they come with the intention of peace talks doesn't mean that it's to kind of like have them put their guard down and do some sort of counterplay. I don't know. I'm not saying like this is.
They don't even view us as a threat, so that's why they have no ill will. It's.
Yeah, and like again, the message being written in Japanese, which I personally don't think that's like they're just it could be that there's something there, right? But again, this is a story with sorcery. It could just be like sorcery shenanigans or whatever. There's it's underneath the pine tree sorcery. We already talked a bit about Hishaku. I wouldn't be surprised if there is at least someone with ulterior motives. I'm not saying the royal family as a whole, but again, when it comes to like this potential third party or something along those lines, I wouldn't be surprised that somebody takes advantage of this opportunity, or whether it's, like I said, the royal family themselves kind of giving Japan a false sense of security of like, hey, let's just talk, right? And we, some shit is almost certainly gonna go down. I mean, hey, it could be Japan as well, right? Like, I'm not saying it's Shikoku entirely, but yeah.
Well, we also have to remember. My bad. Go ahead, brother.
I was just gonna say, like, last thing is like to just assume that like nobody's going into this with hostile intentions is a bit naive. So yeah, I'm looking out for that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like. Hopefully it's just not like a Modelo situation where he's reaching for a sword, Hopefully it's nothing like that. One thing about like I'm guessing the treaty was signed on Irishima as well, and when we get that information, we know that lore dump in that moment wasn't entirely true. Because like that's when we say that they invaded the shores of Japan, and we see it's just them dropping off a letter. But that during the treaty, when they said about the treaty, if we decide to take it as truth, remember they kind of uprooted and they overthrown the royal family. So the royal family could be like to blame for it getting to this point. Like they mishandled everything and they caused like so many of their own Shikoku citizens to like pass during the war, to die because of their judgment call. So it definitely could be something like that, Dice.
Yeah, last thing I want to point out is like it seems like this is a recognized event, or at least the way it's kind of stated here as the Irishima talks. I think it's obviously we just found out about
incident. This is our
yeah, that's kind of where I was going. Like the Irishima talks are not gonna go well. Like I think that's pretty much a given. So I don't think I'm like,
if we see somebody with a fedora in that meeting,
it's GG's.
Everyone's going crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know, Noah. I guess what are you looking forward to for that meeting?
I feel like just more Shokoku lore, because like you said, we could kind of speculate all day every day, but until we just get the answer, we're really just never gonna know. Like Hatshaku could show up next chapter, or like it could be two characters that we've never even seen before. I really don't know. I feel like I mean, you guys covered almost everything. I don't even know if I have anything to add, to be honest.
Fair. Will say though, it would be super cool, and this will be to Dice's credit, if we see someone from the royal family or the royal guard, and he's got the flame bone on his hip or some shit.
Ooh, yeah, that would be tough.
Yeah, for sure.
That would
on
feed
the side
streets.
of Japan. I'm sorry.
More stolen goods.
Hey, that's the spoils of war, Papa.
On the side of Japan, I think we're gonna see the guy that was in the middle in the treaty signing, the boiler hat guy. I think it's very likely that he's gonna be present. Because again, he does have a mustache, and he is like the guy that did the narration about Soga having lost his mind or whatever. I'm not sure if he is like a part of the Soga clan just because of the attire. He's probably the head of the Sorcery Bureau or something along those lines, but I expect to see that guy.
Gotcha. Yeah, true. He could be play a part. I mean, he's got to play a part at least, to some degree, in this flashback, or we should see him. But as like Noab said, we could speculate all day because Hokuzono does kind of like lend, his writing lends to that kind of experience of wanting to theorize and just theory craft. But I guess we just kind of jump to Subaru, join, like he just walks in on Shiba and Kunishige. They were talking about Chiaki, and we've kind of talked about that a bit. And Kunishige finally gets to eat, which is good.
Finally.
But
Thank God. I love every time the drawing like completely just gets worse when Kunishige is like having a moment. It's my favorite.
yeah, he's like one of those like little ugly dolls that they sell at, I think it's Target. I was in there. My daughter went to buy one. I'm like, I think the thing on the box is somewhere around here. It says like ugly friend or some shit like that. It's crazy. But you know, one thing I kind of was talking about this, and it might have been in a theory stream or might have been in an episode about Subaru being there to help Kunishige craft the first EB. But I went back and looked at it, and you know, the whole thing about N10 being special was, and Shiba said this to Chihiro, what made N10 special was that's the first enchanted blade that Kunishige did not craft by himself. So that was like back in chapter like 83, 85, one of the that panel when he was fighting Subaru. Anyway, but Subaru, you know, it's seemingly like, you know, he's like, I'll feed you well. So that might just be enough of, you know, from what we know about Kunishige, a motivation enough to get to foraging. And I do think Subaru is like he's kind of like enticed by Kunishige because he's seen his work through Mashiro's sword, and that man knows a quality crafted sword. You know, he can even tell like even masters can't, you know, do the veins like he can. So I'm hoping we do get to see Subaru's general reaction to Kunishige's like crafting process.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think I heard that I saw a bunch of theories. People were talking about like Subaru doesn't even make the swords, like he's just actually been unknowingly buying them from Kunishige this entire time. But I don't know how legit that is. But I thought that was a funny. Gag.
Never heard that. I never heard that.
LARP
That would
swordsmith.
be insane, bro. That would be so insane. Cause see, I've been kind of on the tip of Subaru being the one to help Chihiro craft his or reforge his EB in the present timeline.
True.
And
Good point.
we know Subaru didn't necessarily help Kunishige craft the enchanted blades, but that doesn't mean that he wasn't a participant to like view it. You know, the fact that he's feeding Kunishige gives me the type of vibe where he would not mind. Subaru's the one feeding him. He doesn't mind Subaru watching him forge a sword. You know Subaru might not help him because like Shiba's words say that only Chihiro is the only one to ever craft an EB with him, but that doesn't mean Subaru didn't at least like spectate the process, and that might be enough to kind of help give Chihiro or maybe just helps Chihiro learn the fundamentals of forging because he didn't really master the craft. But
yeah, I think that's
way.
the most likely thing where he just helps like Chihiro get back to basics and everything like that. I think that's a really good idea though, that Subaru would probably play that important role for Chihiro. I think that makes absolute sense, especially with what we learn about him in this flashback.
Yeah, you know, and like basically filling in the holes that unfortunately Kunishige couldn't teach him and instill in him because of the what happened. But Subaru's there to like fill in the missing holes or just kind of help. Maybe the veins play a very big part in the crafting of the enchanted blades, and as we know, he's like the master on that. Well, I'm sure Kunishige knows how to do it too. So I'm very interested to see how all that plays out. And hey, Subaru gets to make sushi. That's his thing, So he's like, I'll let you cook. You let me cook. Literally, we good.
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't really thought about obviously we've discussed like Subaru potentially interacting with Chihiro in this swordsmith phase of Chihiro's. But we could also see like Subaru talking to Chihiro about like the kind of man that Kunishige was before.
Your
right?
dad was a bum. Your dad was literally homeless.
Yeah, for
unhoused,
real.
I mean.
And Chihiro's like, oh, no worries. I know. Trust me.
I said do a flip for some rice balls, and that dude did a backflip.
That dude did 3 backflips.
Yeah, one jump. My bad for cutting you off, Dice.
No, but yeah, I like, in all seriousness, I do think it would be pretty cool because we've talked about like Kunishige only having the perspective of Chihiro having the perspective of Kunishige as a father. And it would be kind of like a bit reassuring to know that like Kunishige wasn't exactly who he thought it was, not from like a disillusion standpoint, but from like, he had to kind of like figure it out as well, right? And when it comes to Shiba's statement, I think that sort of thing can kind of be open to interpretation from the sense of like, well, he could have just meant like hands-on, right? Like Subaru didn't actually like, kind of like you said, physically get involved, right? But he could have been kind of giving Kunishige pointers, just kind of like assisting him.
I see what you're saying though. Maybe like the veins plays a part, and maybe that's something that Subaru can instill in Kunishige, which that he didn't necessarily was like hands-on. I think that's kind of where you were going with Dice. That
yeah,
he could have gave Kunishige the last the last piece needed to be able to make the EBs, which maybe are the veins, because that's the thing that was brought up last chapter. That it could be true as well. And as you talk about like you were kind of cooking when you're talking about how Subaru can talk to Chihiro as like, this is the man before he became a hero and a legend. I can tell you about your father. Shiba was his homie, so that kind of is a bias if you want to look at it like that. The other sword bearers seemingly got to meet Kunishige or for the most part, some of them didn't know him, but like Subaru just met Kunishige before he crafted the EBs. So Subaru can give him a totally unfiltered, unbiased, like view or perspective of like who his father was. It was like, oh, I wasn't your father's homie. I also knew your father before he gave me an EB, before he even crafted one. So it's like that could be like a nice perspective that he could tell Chihiro about the man behind the legend, the true man, without any like filter.
Yes.
I guess we can get ready to wrap this up if y'all have anything else y'all want to touch on. I do have one question I want to ask Noop.
Yes, sir.
How you feeling about Subaru, the 5'6", short king?
Oh no.
I love Subaru. I think I loved Subaru the moment that we got the last chapter and they asked him like, oh, we read your book and it didn't really make much sense, and he goes, oh yeah, that's because it's bullshit. And like I was like, oh, this guy's based. He's like yeah,
and stands on business about it. He don't make no like excuses for it. He just
for
says,
real. But I also loved the thing where because you know me, I've been getting a little bit into my Musashi grind lately, and like I kind of loved when Subaru was like the people where they were kind of like whispering behind him. They were like, oh, like, oh, he wears 3 hats, like that's kind of crazy. He goes, no, I don't. He goes, I do one thing, and it just so happens that it works for multiple things to do. And I thought that was really, really cool. Where he's like, no, I'm not a master of 3 things. A jack of all trades is a master of none. He goes, I've mastered, I don't remember exactly what he calls it.
The gripper. He's the strongest gripper around.
Yeah. Yeah. But he mastered the grip, and that's how he knows how to do sushi. That's how he can sword forge, and that's how he can be a master swordsman as well. So I thought that was really, really cool too. I like his character. I think he's really cool.
That's a good shout about like the whole Musashi thing, like, cause it's like compartmentalizing, like viewing things as like their own separate entities. But there is a lot of like inherent qualities that if you do master, you will succeed in a lot of other, subcategories. You know what I mean?
Learn one thing to know 10,000.
Yeah. And that's a good parallel there. I don't want to get you on like war and tactics of war. We'll be here for 3 hours.
Oh my god, yeah. Like break out Sun Tzu, bro.
Yeah. Dice, you have any closing thoughts, Dice?
Not really. Just like I said, a solid chapter. I think we pretty much covered it. I'm sure there's obviously things to speculate on, like you guys talked about. I'm sure there's like little details that we could probably come back in a couple of chapters and see things that were like under our noses and whatnot. But yeah, that's all from me, really.
No op, any last thoughts, statements you want to bring up?
I am just excited. I'm sad that it's break week. I think I'm pretty sure, right?
No, we have
but
we have a chapter next week.
Okay, I was about to.
okay, maybe I missed it. I could have sworn it said break week next week, but maybe I'm wrong.
Manga Plus says it has a chapter next week.
Manga
Hold on,
Plus, I don't trust Manga Plus as far as I could throw
I don't
it.
trust you. I have no stocks in Manga Plus. It says April 5th is the next chapter.
All right.
Oh, now we're
Yeah.
about to see. In the comment section, vote whose side you on, no op
No,
or
I'm-
art.
Shonen Jump does say new chapter coming in 7 days. No, don't be bringing that negativity in here.
I'm sorry. I
Look
swear
at him.
I saw
Misinformation Subaru over here.
Someone
Look at it, yeah.
misinformed me, and I'm just
Yeah.
playing a terrible game of telephone, I guess.
He said, the Subaru said, I pulled it out my ass. I was like, man, the ass so fat, I thought it was a storehouse.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, boy, when you said no chapter next week, I was like, oh, I can't, not another break week. Them shits feel long for Kagurabachi for some reason.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that'll do it. Good chapter. I mean, leaves off on a really interesting cliffhanger here with this pine tree. We'll see what that happens. And we'll see you guys next week, unless No-Op was right, and then I'll have to have a No-Op apology for him as well as
Let's hope not.
Thanks for
I
coming
don't
on,
think so.
No-Op,
You're
by
right.
the way.
No, thanks for having me. It was a fun time, guys. Anytime.
Yeah, this was
All
fun.
right.
Appreciate it, man.
And y'all make sure to check out No-Op. I'll obviously do the collaborator link thing, and I'll put you in the comments description below. Excuse me.
My
All
guy.
right. All right, y'all. Have a good one. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.